We often think that business growth is all about doing more, right? More campaigns, more ads, more activity. But what if the real secret, the key to growth that actually lasts, isn't about what you do, but how your entire organization thinks? Today, we're going to dig into how a growth mindset, often brought in by a fractional CMO, can totally transform a company's culture and, of course, its bottom line. So let me ask you a question, and be honest. Does it ever feel like your marketing department is running a million miles an hour, but the results are kind of meh? Like all that energy, all that activity just isn't moving the needle in a way you can clearly see. It's a super common frustration, and believe me, it almost always points to something much deeper than just your strategy. Okay, think of this like a quick checkup. Do any of these symptoms sound familiar? Teams that just keep running the same old plays, even if they stopped working ages ago? A team that gets defensive about trying new things? Or this big one, a real, palpable fear of failure hanging in the air? These aren't signs you have a bad team. Nope. They are the classic symptoms of a fixed mindset culture, where the fear of getting it wrong is so powerful it basically kills any shot at real innovation. But here's the good news. For every fixed mindset, there's a powerful antidote. And that brings us to the solution, the growth mindset. And this isn't just some feel-good corporate buzzword, I promise. It's a fundamental, game-changing shift in how an entire company can work. So what does this actually mean in a marketing context? Well, at its core, a growth mindset is this simple but powerful belief that nothing is set in stone. Your skills, your results, your whole strategy, it can all get better. The trick is to embrace this nonstop cycle of feedback, testing, and learning, because that's what drives real improvement. And this is where it really clicks. Look at the difference. A fixed mindset is all about activity, just looking busy while desperately trying to avoid challenges and hiding any mistakes. But a growth mindset, it's all about outcomes. It runs toward challenges, and this is the most important part, it treats failure as pure gold, as valuable data. That one little shift from fearing failure to learning from it, that literally changes everything. Okay, so that all sounds great, but how do you actually build this thing? How do you get a whole organization on board? Well, you have to start by getting everyone to speak the same language. And that brings us to the first principle, data unites. When you use it the right way, data is the ultimate tool for getting everyone aligned and on the same page. This is so key. In a true growth mindset culture, understanding the data is everybody's job. It's not just for the analytics team locked away in a room somewhere. From your creative team to your customer service reps, everyone needs to understand the numbers that are actually driving the business forward. So how do you make that happen? It's really a three-step playbook. First, you democratize the data. Make it available to everyone through simple, clear dashboards. Second, you create rituals around it. Regular meetings where teams from different departments actually talk about what the numbers are saying. And finally, and this is crucial, you focus on what really matters. You shift the whole conversation away from vanity metrics like likes and views to the stuff that actually impacts the bottom line: customer acquisition cost, customer lifetime value, and retention. Suddenly, everyone's speaking the same language, the language of growth. All right, so if data is the common language, what's the engine that actually drives progress? What makes the car go? Well, that leads us right into our second principle, feedback. But not just any feedback. Structured, constant feedback is the fuel for real agility and improvement. And let's be crystal clear here. We are not talking about that dreaded once-a-quarter performance review that everybody hates. This is completely different. This is about building a constant, structured feedback system that's just part of how you work every single day. It's an always-on loop for learning. So in the real world, this system has three main parts. First, you build the loops themselves to pull in feedback from customers, from your sales team, from your data. Second, and this might be the most critical piece of the whole puzzle, you have to make experimentation psychologically safe. When a campaign doesn't work out, the question is never who's to blame. It's always, what did we learn? And finally, you act on those lessons right away, turning them into strategy changes in real time. Okay, so we've got the principles down, uniting with data and feeling with feedback. But that leaves a pretty big question. Who actually makes all of this happen? Who drives this kind of massive cultural shift? Well, you need a catalyst. And very often, that catalyst is a fractional CMO.
Now, a fractional CMO isn't just some outside consultant you hire to run a few campaigns. Think of them more like an expert coach. They are a part-time strategic leader whose main job is to build up your team's capability. You get all the benefits of top-tier marketing leadership to help you scale, but without the full-time price tag.
So their real job, their true purpose, is to be a culture builder. A great fractional CMO doesn't just bark orders. They build all those systems for data and feedback we just talked about. They lead by example, they model humility, and most importantly, they work to transfer that growth mindset directly into your team's DNA so it becomes permanent and sticks around long after they're gone. All right, let's bring all this home. I want to give you a simple checklist right now, something you can use to kind of diagnose your own organization and see if you're ready for this kind of change. So just ask yourself these questions. Is there a shared language of growth across your company, or is everyone in their own world? Are you stuck in that busy but not effective trap? Is your team actually afraid to fail? Is there no one really mentoring your junior marketers? If you find yourself nodding along to any of this, that is a huge signal that you don't just need new tactics, you need a whole new way of thinking. And that really brings us to the ultimate goal of this entire process. Sustainable, real growth can't and shouldn't depend on just one brilliant leader. It has to be built into a system, into the culture itself. It has to become a living, breathing part of the company's DNA. So I'm going to leave you with one final question to chew on. Is your company's growth built on a fragile foundation of tactics, always just one step away from collapsing? Or is it truly built into your DNA? Because the answer to that question tells you everything you need to know about where you're headed.